Welcome to the Mental Workload Podcast by Self-Care Banker. Hi listeners, welcome to the Mental Workload Podcast. I'm your host, Gem Hill. Something a little bit different today. The final 2 episodes of the season they still need a little bit of work, but I didn't want to leave you without an episode, so I'm doing a bonus episode. I want to do more of these going into season 2, some Patreon exclusive stuff, things like that, so keep your eyes peeled for more of this stuff. But that's in the future. Today, now, I want to talk to you about running wellbeing programs, initiatives, events in the workplace. I have a lot of experience doing them. I've been doing them for years, and I've learned a lot. I've made some mistakes, and I have figured out things as I went along, and I want to share all that with you. So if you are thinking of running events or initiatives, or if you are already, hopefully I can give you something that will help make them easier, successful, all that good stuff. As I said, I have a lot of experience running wellbeing initiatives in the workplace. I have spearheaded some, I've been involved in others, I have done everything from more long-term projects to one-off events, all that good, all of it, I've done it, or I've been involved in some way. And so I understand there's a lot of different things that go into it, and I want to talk about some of the things that stick out to me as things that I wish I knew earlier, or things I've learnt, let's just say that. So, the first big question is who is doing the work? Generally speaking, there's going to be one person or a couple of people who are internal who are doing the work. If you're not big enough to have a wellbeing committee, someone is going to be doing the work, and they're going to be doing it alongside their day job. Like I said, bigger companies tend to have people who are in charge of this as their actual job, but I think the vast majority of places, it's usually someone who is passionate about this, who is knowledgeable, who wants to build that support network, who is doing this work. They are doing it alongside their day job. At minimum, they're organising external speakers, they're getting budget, they're reaching out to people, they're finding people, they're advertising it, they're booking it in calendars. On the other end, they're spearheading internal programs, fundraising, peer support networks, internal speakers, all the advertising, all the organising, all of that. And both of those, but especially the second one, it's work. It's taking them away from their day jobs. And it's important that we think about that when it comes to who's going to do the work, how the work is spread out, and how we support those people. Generally, the people doing this work are minoritized in some way. You know, they're women or non-binary, they're queer, they're not white, they're mentally ill themselves in some way, they have mental health problems, they're neurodiverse. They're in the minority, generally speaking. And if you think about episode 1 where I talked to Rachel, we talked a little bit about the toll and the pressure that can come with single-handedly maintaining a community, doing all that work on top of your day job. And in the episode where I spoke to Lena, we talked about how this can have a material effect on your career. If you spend time doing this important work, you're not doing the hands-on work that is your day-to-day job, and that slows down the progression of your skills, your ability to get promoted. Generally, you're just going to be behind your peers because you are doing this extra work. This can lead to people not getting promotions, or people find it difficult to find new jobs because they haven't got the skills that someone else with the same years of experience has because they've been doing this work. There is also some irony in people doing this kind of work for staff well-being can often feel overworked and unsupported. Their own mental health is taking a back seat to the work to help other people's mental health. And so I think it is important, if you are doing this work, if you're seeing this work being done, that we have honest conversations about how it's affecting the people doing the work and how we can support them. This is especially true if you're in the leadership role. This work needs to be supported and sponsored by leaders in order to give people. When a leader sponsors openly and supports a program, chances are people are going to take more notice because it's coming down from a leader. It's like a top-down thing, and even if you're in a company or a business or a team that doesn't have quite that same level of hierarchy, leaders still have more visibility. They are more visible themselves, and so supporting and sponsoring that work can help people get involved, which can, first of all, again, it's wellbeing initiatives, so the more people that can benefit, the better, but also it might bring more supporters, more volunteers, more people to do the work, so it becomes easier to spread. So the first thing to really think about when it comes to these wellbeing programs is who is doing the work and how is the work affecting them, both day to day, but also on a career level, and can you get involved to support them, especially if you're in a leadership position. A little tangent for leaders as well, if you are a leader, make sure you practice what you preach. I have been in multiple situations, or I've heard people talk about where the company talks about work-life balance and taking leave, but leadership don't take leave. And if they do take leave, they still work, they're still online, they're still on Slack, they're still on emails, or they'll send emails late into the night. You'll see them updating documents late into the night. And we can talk about how sometimes your lifestyle means that you work during the day, you finish early, you go home, and then you work into the night to make those hours up, right? That's fine. But if people don't know that's what you're doing, they're going to think that working late at night, working on leave, doing the things that leadership are doing are needed in order to be leaders at that company. All the talk about work-life balance, the importance of switching off, all that kind of stuff, it's all talk unless leadership are doing it and living those values. No one's going to believe it if leaders aren't doing it, you know? And so I think if you are a leader in this position, it is kind of worth making sure that your managers, your leaders are making sure they're looking after their own well-being as well, to be honest. Like, if they are working through leave, if they are working late at night, this is having a material effect on them and their well-being. But not only that, it could also be having a knock-on effect to the people underneath them. And so it's doubly important that you have these conversations with yourself, with other leaders, with managers, all that kind of good stuff. If you are a leader in a business that has a wellbeing program, or even if it's not, look after yourself, everyone. Okay, the next thing that I wish I'd done in a lot of my wellbeing work is have a direction. Like, think about medium term at least, what do you want this program to look like? I often would go in all guns blazing, very excited, putting on an event, and then there wouldn't necessarily be any follow through really, because I hadn't thought that far in advance. And sometimes one-off events are fine, that's all you need and that's all you have space to do, and that's great. But if you do want this to be a more ongoing thing, if you want to build in peer support or team building or more active fundraising, whatever it is, having an idea of what that might look like can really help you. First of all, it can help you get support, it can help you get buy-in. If you can go to leaders or other members who are excited about this work and go, here's what I'm thinking, what do you think? It becomes a lot easier to get that buy-in. Secondly, it becomes a lot easier to do things like prioritization, delegation, organization, all of that, if you have a direction of travel, right? And so I would, no matter where you are in the wellbeing initiative process, whether it's something you've been doing for ages or something you're just starting, or kind of you had a couple of full starts or a couple of events but nothing really long term and you're looking to change that, figure out what your ideal midterm vision is, and then you can work backwards from there to find something that kind of makes sense for you now, and you can always develop in that direction. You might not ever get the ideal, probably not, that's not how things work, but at least it gives you an idea of where to go. And also, you can sit down and go, can I actually do this? Is this going to work with my day-to-day work? Am I going to be able to manage all of this without ruining my own well-being? How much help and support do I need? Do I need budget? All these questions you can already have the answers to, and then you can go out and get your support. And this really is work where teamwork is really important. When I was at the BBC in a department that I was working there, we had a great team of mental health first aiders, and we started to put out monthly newsletters. So we'd share resources, but we'd get other people in the department to share things that they've enjoyed, share photographs. This was during lockdown as well, so share photographs that they're taking on their like once a day walks that we could take, and just really bring that sense of community together. And because there was a group of us doing it, it didn't take that long to do. It wasn't a huge amount of work to gather everything together. We often found things in advance that we just put on a list and people knew where to put them. So there was one centralised place where we put everything, and then it was just a case of pulling it together into the email that we'd already made. The template was there, and then sending it. And sometimes it's those small but consistent things that are really important, and it becomes a lot easier to plan and put them together if you have an idea of where you want to go. Not everyone is going to get involved. Not everyone's going to take part. Well, in every workplace I've done this work, there's always been people who haven't been involved for whatever reason. Some people are never going to want to cross those lines. Bring your whole self to work should be optional, okay? People should feel that they could bring their entire selves to work if they wanted to, but not that it's mandatory for them to do so, okay? Some people are always going to be more private. Some people have great support networks outside work and don't feel the need to bring that into work, you know? Some people might need the help, but they've been burnt. They might need to see how it goes. They might need proof that this is something that's worth them being vulnerable in order to take part in. And so it might be that you do something 2 or 3 times before these people come forward and take part. They might need to hear other people talk about it. There are so many reasons why people are not going to get involved. And you have to not take that you can't take it personally as an organiser. I know, especially if this is something that you are passionate about and you feel will really help people. If it's something that you're doing that you wish you had a few years ago at a previous workplace, it can be really hard when people don't get involved. They don't want to take part. But we need to not take it personally. It's not about you. It might not even be about the program you've put together. It's about that person, and that's okay. Obviously, if you get feedback that this isn't what people want, or if things aren't gelling, you can make changes there. But if people are just not getting involved, they're not getting involved, and that's okay. Don't take it personally. Take a deep breath, ground yourself. It's all good. Okay? And the last thing that I want to talk about is something I kind of touched on briefly in the last episode with Josh and Amelie from Sparkle, which is this stuff is for everyone. Wellness, well-being, mental health initiatives, they are for everyone. It's not just for people who have disclosed mental health issues or diagnoses. Everyone can benefit from this stuff. Anyone could be able to take part in this initiative regardless of their disclosed status, whether they've spoken about it before. And this links a little bit into the previous point as well, where people should be able to take part in things without having necessarily to disclose, without having to share things that they don't feel too comfortable sharing. They can just be present. By opening up and welcoming anyone into these initiatives or anyone to help out, all that kind of stuff, you are showing that this is important and this person or these people are worthy of help and assistance, even if their troubles aren't that bad. I'm doing air quotes on that bad. There is not so much now, but I know when I was starting out, there was definitely this feeling from people I spoke to that in order to kind of benefit from these, you had to be mentally ill, like diagnosed officially. But it's not. This is for everyone. Everyone can take part. Everyone can benefit. And I think making sure that this is something that you spread and that you make really clear can allow, and it also allows people to kind of come in around the edges, you know? They don't have to throw themselves in. They can just see what the vibe is and then come in more if they need to or if they want to. I'm not sure if I've made my point on this last one very clearly, but the bottom line is everyone has mental health and everyone deserves to have that kind of support. and your wellness initiatives should, at the very least in part, be aimed at everyone. You can have things for specific populations and specific demographics, absolutely, but if you want to do a more general wellbeing initiative, open to everyone. Don't make it so that people have to share. Just have a warm, comforting space for people, and then they know where you are, and that if they are struggling, they can come to you and find some assistance. Looking after yourself, both mentally and physically, is a constant priority. It's not something you do just when you're struggling. It's not reactive. It should be proactive, and I think that's the point that I want to make, allowing people to come to these initiatives and thinking about these initiatives with that goal in mind, that these can be preventative as well as reactive, is really important and can help open up a lot more opportunities and a lot more ideas for you. That's it for me. A little bit different, but I enjoyed it, even if it does feel weird to be podcasting by myself. I'm so used to having a guest now. Next episode should be back to normal, and I'll have a guest, and I'm very much looking forward to bringing that to you. And yeah, I'm going to leave it here. As a reminder, you can find all the information like show notes, a transcript, all that good stuff over at selfcarebackpack.com/the mental workload. You can support the show over at Patreon at patreon.com/the mental workload. And if you want to say hi, if you have suggestions for topics or guests you'd like to see, you can drop us an email at mentalworkloadpod@gmail.com. That's all for now. See you in a couple of weeks.